Welcome back. This is episode 237 of the Veterinary Business video show. In this episode we'll hear how to reject the mediocre and replace it with consistent great service, and we'll learn how to keep the veterinary team on time with their client appointments. We'll hear some tips to retain your team members. We'll learn how easily yours could become a cat-friendly practice, and I'll offer you my quick business tip. For this episode, I'm John Sheridan, and this is the video show from Veterinary Business. One of my favourite marketing quotes is that people will forget what you said. They'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And I think it's a particularly important one to remember in veterinary practice. Of course, our clients expect high professional standards. They expect advice and support from professionals with the skill and expertise they need for their animals. And for the most part, they're prepared to pay for that advice. The problem is that in a crowded market, providing what's expected is simply not good enough to ensure that your practice stands out from all the others offering the same. There has to be something unique and special over and above all those expectations to ensure that your clients never forget that they made the right decision to contact your practice for the help that they were looking for. Here's a clip from Joel Parker of Veterinary Practice Solutions, in which Joel explains why and how rejecting the mediocre and replacing it with consistent great service is key to your continued success.
And this week we're talking about good. The enemy of great is the question mark or the exclamation mark here. And this is a really interesting topic, because what I found in practice is that you're constantly striving for greatness, and sometimes you're surrounded by a bit of people that aren't necessarily well trained. They may be well intentioned, but do they do a perfect job every single time? And really it comes down to looking at them and what is their purpose for being in your practice. I'm talking about your staff, your associate doctors, basically your team members. And what you'll find in a really, really great team, whether that's an Olympic ski team or a football team that takes it to the Super Bowl, is that there is a high element of greatness in there, and there's a rejection of mediocrity. But there is at times when they're winning an acceptance that maybe everything wasn't done perfectly. And I think this is this fine line as a practice owner and manager you got to skate, is that when do you call somebody out on a job that wasn't done well? Thank you. When do you call somebody out? When do you take them aside and say, listen, that x-ray just was not good enough, or this and this needs to change? And I think one of the key things on that is to be tracking your numbers in your practice, be tracking your KPIs, and have a really good pulse on your greatness. And what I mean by that is that when you start tracking your KPIs, let's say on a weekly and monthly basis, and when your numbers are rising, or let's say you pull off like a huge increase one week of new clients coming in, or a huge increase, a highest ever gross income week, or highest ever delivery, you've helped a lot of people, then that's not the week to sweat the small stuff. But let's say your numbers are really down and people are showing up late and they're not getting on the phones to call people, all those wonderful tools you can use to create a busy practice. Let's say they're not doing that, then that would be something where you've got to jump in there. You've got to jump in and handle people and make sure that they are not bringing mediocrity into your scene. Otherwise, you will not make it to the Super Bowl. You will not make it to the Olympics with the acceptance of mediocrity. And that's what this is all about. So a couple action steps here today, guys. Number one, super important really on a monthly basis and a yearly basis to set some goals for the practice. Really the simple ones to set are your gross income. How busy do you want to be? Other goals would be number of transactions, number of new clients coming in the door. And I love the new client ones. As you know, we've got the new client builder course that we've done, which is an excellent 2-day course on how to boom your new clients in your practice. And what I love about that is that they are the lifeblood of a practice. So set some high goals there. How many new clients you want coming in every month, every week. And then start tracking your KPIs. Again, a new client is a good one to track because it's very tangible. That's their first visit into the practice. Another one to track would be their second visit to see whether they came back. If they came back, guys, then that's kind of your standing ovation. It means that you did a really great job and they stuck. And you have now become their veterinarian. They're starting to form a habit of using you. And then the third one here is manage appropriately. And what I mean by that is that when the numbers are up, then acknowledge and validate the greatness that's occurred. Greatness is a very special thing. And again, it doesn't mean that everything's perfect, but it means that there was a great thing that was done, and that could be a great surgery, that could be a highest ever week, that could be just a huge thing that your team has done. It's super important to acknowledge that, which oftentimes we forget. And then also at the same time, if you've got some team players that are not pulling their weight, that are not pushing up to a level of greatness that you need to be, then you need to sit down and have an honest chat.
Now let's see who's on the video show Soapbox. What do you think is one of the most common reasons for clients in your waiting room beginning to develop negative thoughts about the practice? I suspect it's having to wait more than maybe 5 or 10 minutes after their agreed appointment time to be seen by the vet or other healthcare professional, especially when nobody acknowledges the delay or offers an apology or an explanation. Here's a clip from Wendy Myers with some practical advice to keep your veterinary team on time with their client appointments.
Have you ever been blindsided at the end of an exam? You ask the pet owner, do you have any other questions? And she says, oh yeah, could you also check? You have just been sucked into 20 minutes of additional time and appointments run behind the rest of the day. To keep exams on time, ask this specific question 3 times during the client experience. The first is during the scheduling call. When the receptionist is booking a checkup, ask the client, does your pet have any health or behavior concerns you want to discuss with the doctor? Many well pets have sick pet problems, ear infections, skin issues, lumps and bumps. Knowing up front lets you choose a longer appointment time. The second time is during the beginning of the appointment. The technician is going to explain the list of services due today. For your pet's checkup, we will do a nose-to-tail exam, vaccines, heartworm tick screen, intestinal parasite screen, and refill your preventatives. I'm going to take a brief history, collect samples for testing, and get your pet's vital signs. Then the doctor will begin the exam. Does your pet have any health or behavior concerns that you want the doctor to address? If the client shares a concern, this becomes the chief complaint that the veterinarian is going to address before delivering preventive care. And then the third time is before the physical exam. After the doctor greets the client and he gets ready to ask history questions and actually perform the physical exam, first he's going to ask, before I begin my exam, does your pet have any health or behavior concerns that you want me to address? Research shows that people need to hear a message at least 3 times before taking action. So having the receptionist, technician, and veterinarian ask about health concerns actually will help you better manage exam time.
Now for a tip from the top in the business world of veterinary practice. Recruiting and retaining vets with an enthusiasm and a commitment for a career in practice continues to be the #1 management problem for practice owners. So any suggestions which might help to retain your team are well worth thinking about. Here's a clip from an online video presentation by Deirdre Gelderman with some tips to consider.
I'll go through these ideas. They're quick, they're succinct, and pick out the ones that you think are going to work for you and use them. This is all about thinking laterally. As I said, these strategies are actually in place as we speak and come out of the mouths of my coaching clients, if you like. So let me go through them with you. So giving the wives or the girlfriends a mobile phone and a mobile phone allowance, up to say $150 a month. And even if the teenage kids, you could give them the same thing. So $150 a month, 12 months, that's what, $1,800. It's neither here nor there in the wages package, but it could be a huge attraction device for a potential new employee. If they've got one adult teenage child, $3,600. Again, neither here nor there, but so many potential employees will love that strategy. Another one is unlimited home internet. So, and you could do both. You could give them both. You could give the wife or the partner or the boyfriend or whatever a $150 phone and pay for their unlimited access, internet access at home. Great strategies, really engaging for some of the newer generations. Then we have more holidays. So rather than the standard in Australia, it's 4 weeks holiday. I know a lot of other countries it's a lot less, but let's work with the Australian numbers. Rather than giving them 4 weeks holiday, you could give them 5 weeks or 6 weeks. And you may be saying, oh, no, we can't do that. Well, yes, you can. Every country has its down season. In the States, it's typically at the top half of the year from October through to February, March. Australia and South Africa, it's typically the bottom half of the year from April through to August. The practices are a lot quieter. And typically those times of the year you could do with 1 vet less or a half a vet less, even if you're only a 2 or 3 vet practice. So what you would do is you'd give them their normal 4 weeks holiday at whatever time of the year they like, and those extra 2 weeks holiday they have to take during your quiet season. Another one is the type of car they drive. This is typically if they're a large animal practice or a car is part of their wages package. Now, this one comes personally from me. I was employing vets only, 10 years ago now, 8 years ago now, and there was a vet I really, really wanted to attract. He was just the perfect fit for my practice, and a car was part of the salary package that we had offered him. It was like $100,000 package and included car and a few other bits and pieces. And the swinging vote for him was the type of car he wanted, as it was a souped up, Mazda. And he had another practice that was actually offering him more money, but the fact that he got the car he wanted from me brought him over to my side of the fence. So very little extra cost, but hugely beneficial for the practice. And then the last thing I want to share with you is CE, continuing education. And again, I have a number of clients that are doing this at the moment. So one of my clients in Western Australia took his whole team, and that's 3 vets, that's him and 3 others, 4 vets. He put a locum in the practice 1 day a week and took his whole team to a 3-4 day conference on the Gold Coast. That's in Queensland for people that aren't in Australia. And paid all their expenses, air flights and conference expenses and accommodation, the whole deal. They're still talking about it 9 months later.
Now for my quick business tip for this episode. My quick business tip this time was triggered by a clip from Michael Napier featured on the dvm360.com website with some suggestions about making your practice cat friendly without having to make any physical changes or spending a great deal of money. Here's what he had to say.
Low stress techniques for cats are really pretty easy. I think there's a common misconception that in order to be a low stress or a cat friendly practice that you need to do massive remodeling or change who you are as a practice. I think the biggest thing that you can do to be cat friendly without really making any physical changes is simply look at things from the cat's point of view. Walk into your practice one day and instead of the normal route that you go and dropping your briefcase or whatever and getting your coat off, stop and think about it. How does a cat experience my practice? And so if we can simply look at things and say, hey, what could we do in the practice that's just a little bit different from our normal routine that might make things more cat friendly? So examples might be making sure that we can put our cat carriers up on the counter as opposed to down on the floor when we're checking in. When we get into the exam room, give the cat some time to acclimatize. Put the carrier up on the counter, open it up, and then ignore the cat. Go about taking your history and getting information from the client. Other simple things include pheromones. So get some feel away plugged in and get it circulating in a room that, maybe you don't have the space to devote to an entire cat room, but maybe we could make one room that is cats mostly. And so we're going to have all of our feline friendly stuff in there. So think about how you can look at things from the cat's point of view and be creative in using the resources that you already have.
So what's my quick business tip? Well, it's this. Following Michael's suggestions could be an excellent way to begin to differentiate your practice from the other practices in your part of the world, especially when it could be achieved at little or no cost. Two of his ideas in particular seem to make very good sense to me. First, try to look at things from the cat's point of view to see what easy changes you could make to reduce stress for your feline patient. And second, in the consulting room, let the cat out of the basket and ignore it for a few moments while you take a history and talk with the client. That would give the patient time to acclimatise to the new surroundings. Well, that's about it for now. I'm John Sheridan, and this has been another video show from Veterinary Business. See you next time.